Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Callie, and today I'm going to be kind of going through some of my favorite retellings. Now, with retellings, there's a lot of wiggle room, and one of my favorite thing about retellings is they play with that what if factor. And a lot of these take that what if factor and just blow it up, and it's so cool to see some of these authors and what they can do with that what if factor. One of the really popular series that has been doing this is the Disney What If series. At least that's what I call it, or Twisted Tales, that's what they're actually called. It basically takes a classic Disney film and tweaks one decision and kind of follows the story throughout there. I actually don't have any of those on this list because I tried to find. There is some princessy retellings on this list, but I tried to find some odd retellings that maybe not everybody's heard of. Without further ado, the first book that I have are These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet in 1920s Shanghai. And I loved this. The atmosphere was fantastic. We also got so much of that classic Romeo and Juliet angst, but the twist was Roma and Juliet are the children of rival gangs during 1920s Shanghai. And watching that aspect unfold in a gang setting, and then there's also this epidemic of something killing their gang members going on. They're forced to team up together to figure out what's going on, and then our kind of story evolves from there. I loved this book. It was so vibrant and beautifully written. It tore my heart out. I am so excited to get to the second book in this duology, which comes out, I believe, later this year. The next book on here that I have is Sky Without Stars by Jessica Brody and Joanne Rendell. This is a retelling of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This is Les Mis in space, and it's awesome. I love this world. I don't think they're on Earth, if I remember correctly, but we're following our Eponine, our Cosette, and our Jean Valjean. And we don't necessarily get that time jumping that we get in Les Mis, but we do get Jean Valjean's background through flashbacks. And I love it. Les Mis is my favorite Broadway musical, and seeing it transformed into a futuristic story on the page is so mesmerizing, and I fell in love with Les Mis all over again. This is a trilogy, and I am ready. The final book comes out also this year, I believe. There's so many Easter eggs to really big Les Mis fans. I've not only seen the show several times on stage, but I've also read the original material. I've read Les Mis by Victor Hugo. I don't recommend. It's rough. It's hard to get through. But there are so many little Easter eggs that the authors were able to put into this to make it a beautiful homage to the original story. And that's what I really look for in a retelling, is what can you change to make it interesting, but can you still keep the core of the story while making it your own? And this does that flawlessly. Up next, I have Circe by Madeline Miller, and this is a retelling of the goddess Circe. She is a witch, daughter of a lesser god, and she's actually one of the she's a big character in the Odyssey, as she is the lover of Odysseus. So we kind of follow Circe throughout her life, and what I like about this is it doesn't focus on just the Odyssey aspect. We follow her before Odysseus comes and after. And Circe is big in Greek mythology, is known as the mother of witches. And we get to see that aspect unfold with Circe. And I loved this book. It was so beautifully written, and I love Greek mythology, and this gave me just everything I could have ever wanted from a Greek mythology story. And I've yet to read her other book, The Song of Achilles, because I'm afraid of getting my heart ripped out. But I do plan on getting to it because I did love Cersei. If you like Greek mythology and getting more information and more depth to these Greek characters and lesser known Greek characters. I knew nothing about Cersei going into this, and now I know so much about her. And I did so much research and into her actual mythology after I read this book because she's just such an interesting person and witch. And I love the way that she uses and manipulates her powers. It's so cool. And you get like little tidbits of other mythologies and different things that she's touched from other well-known Greek mythology stories. And I think that that was so well done and woven together. The next book that I have is similar to Sky Without Stars, where we're taking a story and putting it in space, and that is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. This is Anastasia in space. So we have our lost princess, and she ends up joining these group of rebels, and our story of Anastasia unfolds, but everything's in space. And I love the story of Anastasia. The main one I obviously know is was it DreamWorks? It's not Disney. Everyone thinks it's Disney. It's not Disney. I want to say DreamWorks or Warner Brothers. Might also be Warner Brothers. I have no idea. But the animated movie of Anastasia, which is one of my all-time favorite animated films, and it does take a lot from that film, which obviously that film is not at all historically accurate, but it's fine because it's a good story. And I love that long-lost royal, long-lost family member finding herself back home. That trope is so much fun, and I loved the world of this in space. It was really fun. It gave me a lot of that like Starfighter, Star Wars battle scenes in space, opposed to just jumping from planet to planet to planet. We have those interstellar fights. I think that's a thing that a lot of sci-fis don't really touch a lot. There have been a few that I know have, but a lot of them, we kind of just jump from planet to planet, or we're traveling. There's not a lot of fighting in space, and this one had a lot of fighting in space. So if you like the movie Anastasia, highly recommend this. Next, I have Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly. This is a retelling of Cinderella. However, this is in the point of view of one of the stepsisters after Cinderella has found her happily ever after. So this is after one of the stepsisters has cut off part of her foot. So this definitely takes from the original Grimm's Fairy Tales edition. Now, Jennifer Donnelly is one of my all-time favorite authors, and she has been a long-time favorite author of mine. I have a lot of her original books, The Northern Light being one of them, and her Deep Blue Quartet. So when I saw that she was coming out with, it's almost a series of post-happily ever afters, I picked this up immediately. She has another one that just dropped called Poisoned, which is a evil queen, I believe. I have yet to pick it up though. But this was so good. So we're following our stepsister who's recovering from an injury and has now been outcast by society because our Cinderella tells her story of what happened to her. So she's very much, her sister and her mother are very much outcasted. Her mother is going insane and her sister just wants nothing to do with anything anymore. And it's so interesting because we lean into that ugly stepsister. I almost got a darker, I think it's Cinderella 2, where one of the stepsisters finds love. That's not the whole point of this one, but very much that redemption vibe. And it was just really interesting to follow. It took a wild direction that I wasn't ready for, and I like this kind of retelling where it's our post-happily ever after, because there is a lot more room for interpretation and creative ability. And I think Jennifer Donnelly took that and ran with it And I do love that she took not the Disney version of the story, but the original Grimm's fairy tale version, because those are very dark, very, very dark. And I would highly recommend this to any Cinderella fan out there. And I hate Cinderella, so any Disney fan, highly recommend this. It's really unique and just fun to follow. Up next, I can't go through this list without finding a Little Mermaid retelling, obviously, and I have To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This is if Ariel was sent to kill the prince and didn't fall in love with him. So we're following Lyra, who is a siren, who basically every year she collects the heart of a prince. But when she accidentally kills a human outside of her killing time, she has to ally with a siren hunting prince and kill him in order to earn her fins back. So she's forcibly turned human and has to kill this other prince. It's a whole thing, and it's so much fun. It's that perfect enemies to lovers story. And our Ariel, Lyra, is dark and broody, and she's just a bitch, and I lived for it every second. I loved this. It's one of my favorite Ariel retellings, and if you like any kind of piratey mermaid, Ursula even, story, this one, highly recommend. And it's a standalone, and it's not that long. I flew through it so fast because it was just so entertaining and so much fun. And the last one that I have is Once and Future by Amy Rose Capetta and Cori McCarthy. Another one in space. This is King Arthur in space. But also let's change up the gender. So in this, there are several reincarnations of Arthur, and in this one we follow the first female reincarnation of Arthur, and her name's Ari, and she accidentally picks up Excalibur, awakens our Merlin, who it's the same Merlin throughout the entire time, but he's aging backwards. So with the first Arthur, he was this old man that everyone associates with Arthur, but in this one, by this time, I pictured him as the Merlin from the show, the BBC show Merlin. That's how I imagined him. And he's still like aging backwards. And it's super fun. We have all of the, we have Guinevere, we have Gabrielle, we have Lancelot, we have all of the round table reincarnated in this group. And it's so cool because you see how corruption and everything, and Arthur's goal is still the same, and it's to unite the kingdoms. So watching that happen in space and how Ari was able to address that is so unique, and just I loved this duology. It was so fantastic and a wild ride. There was so many twists and turns, but also so many callbacks to the original story of King Arthur, and I loved it. It was the perfect melding of that old-timey medieval story and future. And I loved it. It was so much fun. Now, I have 3 books here that are retellings that I really want to get to. So the first one is Queens of Innislear by Tessa Gratton. This is a retelling of King Lear by Shakespeare, but gender bent. Obviously, we have the Queens of Innislear. So instead of King Lear, we have Queen Lear. I have no idea. King Lear is actually one of the few Shakespearean plays I have not read, but it's one that I definitely want to get to. So I'm debating on if I want to read King Lear and then go into this one, or read this one and then go into King Lear, because I'm definitely going to do one of the two. But I've heard nothing but good things about Tessa Gratton's writing. She does a lot of retellings like this, and I've heard nothing but great things. Up next, I have The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This is a retelling of 1001 Nights. Of one of the stories within 1001 Nights, a king has a girl tell him a story every night, and if he's not entertained, he kills her and takes a new wife the next day. So we follow our main character, whose best friend is killed by this emperor, and she is looking for her revenge against this king when it comes up to be her turn to be his wife. I've heard nothing but great things about this duology, and I've heard it's one of the best enemies to lovers fantasies, and I'm ready to eventually get to it. And the last one that I have is Ariadne, no idea how to pronounce this name, by Jennifer Saint. This is a story, this is a retelling of the Princess of Crete, of the same name. I'm not going to butcher it a million times. This Greek mythology story is the story of the Minotaur, and I'm very unfamiliar with that story. I know the basics of it, and I'm really intrigued to see this from, instead of the point of view of a hero, but his sister. The Minotaur, her brother is the Minotaur underneath Crete. Crete, I think it's Crete. And bad pronunciations. So I'm very interested to get to this. I just got this one and it's really short. So I'm just pumped for, I haven't read a really good Greek mythology story since Circe. And I'm ready to fall in love with another one. So hopefully this gives me something similar, and I'm ready for it. And that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below in the comments some of your favorite retellings. And that's gonna be it for today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!